Well, I'm in the presence of an icon. I was telling everyone this before. No, literally, I'm like, guys, do you know who's coming on my show?
Oh my God.
I've got visions in my head. People tell me that I'm crazy. I tell them that's exactly it. I've got reasons for my absence.
I feel really cool. Also, we talked about this beforehand, both from Texas.
Yes.
It's like half my personality being from Texas, so I'm
totally.
so glad.
Totally. I have a blue bonnet like tattoo on my ankle because of Texas.
Yeah, I have a Texas tattoo on my wrist.
You have to.
Yeah, you have to. Okay, well, you have such a crazy life story. I want to let's talk pre-Wizards.
Okay.
So you said you started acting at 6. Were you doing that from Texas? Like,
yeah.
Okay, so tell me more about like your upbringing.
So it was so random. My family jokes that it's like a hobby that got way out of control. So my brother is like addicted to video games even to this day. And my mom one summer was like, okay, you're not going to play video games all summer. You have to find something else. And he was like, I'm not doing sports. So there was like this theater camp. And so I was the little sister that got like dragged to all of like the theater camp rehearsals and all that kind of stuff. And I just like was like, this is amazing. You get to play pretend in front of people and people have to watch you do it. That's amazing. And I immediately fell in love and wanted to audition for the next play, and it just kind of like snowballed from there. And I did like local commercials and TV and kind of did everything I could do from Texas, and then begged my mom to take me out to LA, and she basically thought we were going to go on like a summer vacation and then never go back.
How old were you when you got to LA?
9.
Oh my God, that's so young. How old were you when you booked Wizards?
I was 14.
Okay, tell me about that experience, like auditioning and actually getting the role.
So I had done a pilot for Disney a year prior called Bus Life, which is actually really funny because I was with Vanessa Hudgens, Brandon Smith, like Moises Arias, like a bunch of people.
I was gonna say, I feel like I've heard of this.
Yeah, it was not great.
Okay.
It was literally a show about. It all took place on like a school bus.
Did it get picked up?
No.
Okay, I feel like I've heard about this because other people have talked about that was the pilot and then they booked their thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like the 4 of us all ended up on shows, but like that was what we started with. So like Vanessa had just done High School Musical, so there was no way she was going to do a show because like she was just like, yeah, I did this movie with my boyfriend Zach, and like we sang and danced, and I don't know, and like nobody had any clue it was going to turn into what it did. And then Moises ended up on Hannah Montana, Brandon on Sunny with a Chance. So we all ended up doing our own shows. So we did that the year prior. It didn't get picked up. And then they brought me in actually for Alex, to audition for Alex. My family was about to go in for like our first family vacation in forever. And they called and were like, we want to fly you in to audition for Alex. And I was like, okay. So I get out there and then I auditioned for Alex, and then they're like, do you want to just like read this friend character real quick? And we'll do like a chemistry read with Selena. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And so I completely total character change, and I had to like 10 minutes to put it together. And then we just did a chemistry read, and it worked really well, and we worked well off each other, and it was, the rest is history, I guess.
Was it really crazy booking that and then just your life changing so much? Like, was it an instant change once the show like was like aired?
No, I mean, it wasn't. What's crazy to me now, I think it was after the first season had come out. It wasn't like the pilot came out and then everything changed. It was kind of after the first season and people started to like see it more often. That was when things started to change, of like people recognizing us and like wanting autographs and things like that, which was so bizarre to me and still trips me up to this day because I always just loved acting and I never thought about people actually seeing my work. But yeah, it still kind of blows my mind a little bit, and I kind of forget because to me I'm just Jen. Yeah. So when I'm like out and somebody looks at me and I, like they have that
like
funny,
do a double take, they like look at you a little longer
where you're like, oh, okay. It still is. I like, especially at the hospital when it happens, I like forget, and then I'm like, oh right.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah, I did that. Okay. Like it's weird to me.
Do people ask you to like sing the hat song all the time?
All the time.
That was the number one thing. I honestly had forgotten about that. I'm like, that's probably your most annoying question, I'm sure.
It's not annoying.
Oh,
I think
okay,
it's really
I'm good.
sweet.
That's because you're a nice person, you know?
I try to be.
Yeah, I try my best.
I
It's
try
a
to not be a
Texan.
total like douchebag.
That was the first thing everyone said. They're like, oh my God, the hat song. And I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that.
You know what's so funny? We only did it one episode.
And it is the longest lasting thing from Wizards. I swear to God, it's
so
what everyone talks about.
Weird. It's so weird to me because we did it one episode, season 1. I had to rewatch it on YouTube because when people started asking me, I had totally forgotten how to do it, and then people were disappointed because I was like, they knew it better than I did because we did it once and then forgot about it.
It's crazy that you only did it once because it's been such a big thing.
Yeah.
Like, I know the song. Like, even it came back. It was like, oh my God. Like, you know when it unlocks a memory that you forgot you had?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened. Honestly, imagine if that had come out when, like, TikTok, like, if TikTok was at its highest at that point, would have been viral.
Like, hindsight's 2020 because social media had, like, just started to come out. And, like, I'm so thankful for that because I feel like it's such a different environment. Because like Twitter was brand new when the show came out, and so like it was just a different experience. I feel like for a lot of the kids that are on shows now, you know.
What's your relationship with social media now? Like, how do you feel about it?
There are things. I mean, I tried to not get on TikTok really hard, and now I like have to be like, okay, I've done an hour of just. It's so addictive. It's so addictive. I have a love-hate relationship with it, to be honest. It's become a necessity as an actor, especially as a younger one, and that part I hate because I hate feeling like I have to do something or like I have to have like an image or
share your life or whatever.
Yeah, and because I'm a private person with a lot of things, and I think that makes to be a better actor because if you have access to everything about a person, it doesn't leave any mystery to become a character. But you know, I'm like everybody else where I want to see what everybody else is doing too. Yeah. Having said that, so I'm kind of a hypocrite in that sense because I'm nosy and want to see everybody else's business but don't want to share mine.
I feel like that's how a lot of people feel about social media though. Like I like at least watching. TikTok is the number one thing where it's like you try for so long to not get on another platform. Yeah. And then TikTok of all things really just hooks you in. Like I've never seen an algorithm like that. Yeah. I can't get off.
Totally.
It's so bad. I actually make myself read at night, every night before bed.
I love that.
And I have a Kindle and I like put my phone away.
Yeah.
Because if not, I'll be on TikTok until 3 a.m.
Oh, totally. What are you reading right now?
Right. Well, I just finished a Laura David book. I read a lot. I'm literally on book 47 of 2021.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
I was reading a lot on brain health, like Dr. Amen, Dr. Caroline Leaf. She was just on the show.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm really into it. I could talk about it on
neurocognitive function, all that kind of thing.
Yeah,
oh, I love that.
I'm like so into it. It's like my random
so
thing.
Good.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, what was your favorite memory from Wizards?
Oh, that's so hard. My favorite memory from Wizards is we used to, because we filmed it in front of a live audience, and so right before the live audience, we would all come out and like do like, hi, I'm so-and-so, and they'd like announce us, and we'd all bow and then start the show. And before we did that, we used to, with the director and the producers, all do kind of like a pep talk, basically, of like what we wanted out of the episode, what we wanted out of each other, and what like kind of like a focus of like what everything was about and like what we were doing. And that was always really special to me.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, because it reminded me of like my theater days. You know what I mean? Of just kind of like having that moment behind the curtain with just us putting on the show, you know.
Do you guys still keep in touch?
Yeah, thank God for group messaging.
Yeah, that's real. That is so real.
Yeah, because we're all so busy, you know what I mean? Like we're all so busy. David's a dad now, you know, and like Jake is all over the place and Selena's all over the place and Maria's got her girls that are teenagers now, and
that's wild.
Yeah, and like Deloise has been like going back and forth to like Europe and Mexico. So
everyone's so grown up.
Yeah, it's weird.
That is crazy.
David Henry having 2 kids trips me out.
That is really wild, actually.
It's very bizarre to me. Any of us having children is odd to me. I still can't like wrap my head around it.
What was your life like after the show? Was it weird going from that being your life for 4 years and then like you're not with those people all the time? What was that transition like?
Yeah, it was strange. It was odd. For some reason, right after the show, all of like the acting jobs I did were like horror, where I was like demon possessed and killing everybody.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, I guess I just really needed a change. But that was what I kept getting booked as, which was very odd. But it was definitely an adjustment period because I went from having a job basically 9 to 5, 5 days a week with these people that I had grown up with. It was basically my high school. I joke that I went to Disney High.
Yeah.
And then it was gone, you know? And so, yeah, it was definitely an adjustment period. And then, like, very quickly after, I got diagnosed with type 1. And so that was a whole different adjustment. So it was like a lot of growing pains back to back.
I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about, like, evolving in your career. You're a nurse now, which is literally insane.
People find it so random.
I don't know how you have the time. Like, that's what I'm like, what? I don't like, it's so cool to me. I really respect it.
I appreciate that.
What was that journey like, getting diagnosed and then becoming a nurse? I mean, like, that's crazy.
Well, and it's, believe me, sometimes I ask myself, how do I have the time?
Yeah. I'm going to need like a step-by-step day-to-day like routine after this. Yeah.
Fair enough. Because that's like one of the biggest questions I get asked, which is fair. So when I was 20, I started to like gain weight really fast, like to the point where it like blew out like my knees and my back. Like I still have like issues with my like knees and back with like the joints. Like I have to do a lot of like stretching and things like that and like work out just to make sure those are strong because I gained it so fast in like such a short period of time. And I started losing my vision to the point where like if I saw your face, it would be blurry.
Wow.
So like I was at auditions and people would be like, she doesn't feel connected. And I'm like, yeah, because I can't see you.
Yeah.
And so I was like, something's really wrong. Like I have to figure out what's going on. So I spent like unfortunately it took like 4 years for me to really anchor down what it was because I was having these symptoms so late. Everyone was like, oh, it's type 2. It's type 2. It's type 2. And I finally found a doctor that was like, no, it's type 1. And that got me on the road of treating it correctly. So for 4 years, like it took me, like I wasn't being treated correctly and it just wasn't working. And like one doctor took me off a medication I should have been on and I was like a month away from dialysis. It was a mess. So once I finally got on the right like medication and like health regime and all that kind of stuff, I had so many different experiences with different doctors' offices and nurses and different medical professionals that I was like, okay, I have this thing. I'm going to have it for the rest of my life. I want to understand it better, and I want to make sure all the people that made me feel like crap and didn't believe me and didn't make me feel seen as a patient, I want to make sure I do my part that nobody ever feels like that again. So I was majoring in psychology, and I completely started over and got started with my prereqs for nursing school.
Where did you go to school?
I went to the very prestigious Glendale Community College.
I went to Santa Monica at the beginning. Yeah.
But it's great because I mean I could still act and I didn't have to be enrolled full time and I could take classes here and there. It wasn't until I got into the nursing school there that I had to take 2 years off to go to school and get that degree because I had to go into a hole to get that
How
degree.
many years of schooling is it?
It's 2 years for your ADN. Which is like the associates, and then I could do the other 2 years or like year and a half online for my BSN.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
It's definitely weird. Like I said, people don't understand it. They're like, oh, you quit acting to become a nurse, and I'm like, no.
No, you just do both.
I'm psychotic. I don't know.
You know what it reminded me of?
Masochist.
When you're like, yeah, I think it's really cool that you want people to feel seen. I had Dr. Will Cole on, and he was talking about how that's like that's like what drives him almost is making patients feel seen because you hear that all the time. People being like, I know there's something wrong with me, but no one's listening to me. So I think that's really cool. But it's almost kind of like the same idea of your parents being like, this is like a hobby you took like a little too far. Like you do this and then all of a sudden you're a nurse, you know?
Yeah. Well, because I don't know. I guess my like approach to life is that in general, is that I'm just like, I enjoy this. I'm going to pursue it.
I'm the same way. I'm very all in with things. I don't know how to... I'm either in or I'm out.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how to like be in the middle.
Well, you never half-ass anything. Whole-ass everything.
Yeah, exactly. Become a nurse. Yes, exactly. So when did you start actually like working as a nurse? And how often do you work? Like what is like in all seriousness like your actual like weekly routine?
So, okay, I'll answer the first question first. I started working, which is a hell of a time to work. So I got my license in March of 2020.
Wow.
And I started working in an ER in April of 2020, the week after the safe at home order in LA was announced.
Okay.
So I immediately went into COVID.
Wow.
It was just
what a time to start. I mean, my gosh.
I mean, I still talk to more experienced nurses now, and I'm like, I have nothing to compare this to. Like, this is the only thing. And we're still acclimating to life post-COVID or in COVID because, I mean, patients and like their families still don't know how to behave. I mean, we've had issues with like violence in the ER of like visitors and things like that because they don't know how to act.
Because like socially they haven't been around people or what?
I guess.
Like, okay.
I don't know. I mean, it's been really bad. Like it's been bad of like people, like we've had like nurses physically assaulted by like visitors because like people are just, everything's so heightened for everybody right now. With like anxiety and stress and everything. And so, you know, unfortunately nurses take the brunt of that a lot. And then as far as my schedule on a weekly basis, so I work full time right now. Since like we were talking about before we got on, a lot of the auditions right now are self-tapes just because like the industry is kind of in this in-between COVID safety period. So most of the auditions aren't in person right now, but self-tapes. So I work 3 days a week, 12-hour days. And then I have the other 4 days to focus on acting and focus on my health. And, you know, like if I'll get a self-tape or like my lunch break, I'll be memorizing it in the break room.
That is so crazy.
And then, you know, and just get the tapes done when I need to, or in reading scripts on my other 4 days. And, you know, it's a lot of time management.
Yeah. What are your best time management tips? Because we're talking to the pro here, clearly. So
well, I was 10 minutes late here, so
oh my gosh, we were talking about this before. We had a no-show today. Like, we literally was here, couldn't find it was very bad.
Like, they just didn't show up?
Well, no, apparently they came, they couldn't find the place, even in, I don't know, it was 10 minutes and they left. So that's why I was laughing when you were like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm so late. I'm like, first off, 10 minutes is nothing. I know that, I can tell you're from Texas. Also, you're fine. It's okay.
See, that just like does not compute to me. Because like
I could never do that. I'm just like you with it.
You take 10 minutes to like look around and then you just don't show up. Like that's you just so leave. Foreign.
You don't
to me.
have your team call someone. It's crazy.
Like you figure it. Like even if you're like ridiculously late at that point, you at least try to figure it out or like reschedule. Like,
do something. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's just like.
It was my first no-show. So I've been doing this thing for like 2 years, 2.5 years. So I feel like it was, you know, time. At some point it was going to happen.
That's never acceptable. It's not like, oh, we have to get to this point where somebody just doesn't show up. That's never acceptable.
Yeah, it's not
like,
cool.
I just think about like my grandmommy and she would just be like, no.
Yeah.
Like just rolling in her grave. Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
But yeah, so I basically what I do on my best days, and it doesn't happen every day, and I'm trying not to beat myself up about it because I am a past perfectionist.
Do you know your Enneagram number?
Oh, I think I have it on my phone.
Are you a 3, an achiever?
I think I'm a 3 or a 4.
Okay, yeah. You're probably a 3-wing 4 or 4-wing 3. I like was really into this at some point.
Yeah, no, it's really fascinating. Yeah. I love that, and I love the what is all the
Myers-Briggs.
Myers-Briggs. Yeah.
Do you know what you are for that?
Here, I'm gonna grab my phone.
Yeah, do it.
Because I want to know what yours is too.
I think I'm pretty sure I'm ENFJ.
I think that's what I am.
Yeah,
as well.
Extroverted, something else.
But honestly, I'm also kind of acronym inept. So sometimes, like, I hear that, I'm like, yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, I say that, and it could be completely the wrong one.
I'm just like, what?
I'm pretty sure I saw one time I have the same like personality type as Oprah, and like that really, I went off that for like a few weeks. You know, I felt pretty confident then.
You're like, it's me and O, man.
Yeah,
it's
literally.
Me and O.
It's us against the world.
I love it. But yeah, so basically, what I do on a weekly basis while I look for this is and sometimes I fail and sometimes I don't. But it's like I started doing that like 5-minute journal in the morning, and that's helped a lot.
I also do that, and it really does help.
Yeah. So I started doing that in the morning, and then I'll do a devotional.
Which devotionals do you do?
It's right now I'm doing like the Start Your Day Right or something. Okay. I forget who the author is. I just sent it to a friend of mine. This is the bad thing about having too much going on. Is my brain is just
brain
like
fog.
I'm really good about short-term memory, but my long-term memory is garbage.
I did this one that's like emotionally healthy spirituality. It's like a 40-day one, and it was the best one. I've done 7,000 of them at this point, but it was the best one I've ever done. It's so interesting.
Yeah, no, I like them because I like starting my day like that, especially after I just posted something on Instagram about, because I struggle with depression pretty bad.
Yeah.
And coming out of 2020, I was so focused on, like, I was thrown in with nursing, and I just was so kind of, and acting was on pause because it was 2020. Everything was on pause. And so I was kind of enraptured in that, that I kind of just, at the end of 2020, really the beginning of this year, kind of came up for air and was like, whoa, I have not been taking care of myself mentally, physically, spiritually, like
emotionally, all this
stuff. Like, I just realized I was so drained. And because it was one of those things where no matter how much sleep I got, I was just tired all the time. And so I started making better habits of, like, starting my day like that, because it sets my day up of, like, what do I want to accomplish today? What do I want to do? And then I'll work out.
What workouts do you do? Like, what do you like?
I do that, the Kayla Idstein's thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I love it. I love it because it's easy, it's quick, and it works.
Yeah.
I don't have time for, like, what am I going to do today? Like, I just don't have time for it.
Yeah.
It's 45 minutes. I sweat my butt off. I get it done. And I've seen it work on me. And I have a spin bike, so I'll do, like, one or the other. Or I'll hike with friends. And then I'll either work on, like, nursing stuff that I have to do, a script, interviews, or any acting stuff, or, like, just life stuff, like bills, grocery shopping, folding, whatever.
Yeah, the, like, boring adult stuff.
The boring adult stuff we don't talk about. Yeah. Getting cat pee out of the carpet, you know. But yeah, like, I'll do that kind of stuff. And then and then if it's a nursing day, I'll do everything up to the workout, and then I'll, like, go get, like, food for lunch, and then I will go to work.
Wow.
So and then I'm there for the rest of the evening. Though I'm finally switching to day shift because my endocrinologist was like, you cannot do nights.
That is, like, really so crazy. Yeah, understandably so. Yeah. That is tough.
I said that. All right, I'm a 2-wing 3.
Okay. And
then I'm an ENFP or an ENFJ.
Okay, so I think I'm ENFJ because I said that confidently, so I'm going to go with that. And we're similar. So I'm a 3-wing 2.
Okay.
So that makes sense. So for those of you who are listening, Enneagram is a personality test. And the 3 is the achiever and the 2 is a supporter. So, like, my thing is I joke that, like, I always want to achieve and then I want to make all my friends around me achieve as well. So, and then most of my closest, like, girlfriends, everyone's a 3 pretty much. Yeah. It's really, like, wild.
So what does it mean when it's reversed? So if I'm a 2-wing 3.
So you would be a supporter before you'd be an achiever, but they kind of go hand in hand. Yeah. It's typically just, like, what you score closest to. I'm actually surprised because the 4s are really creative. Yeah. So that's why I was like, oh, 4 sounds right because, like, acting and you're creative, obviously. Yeah. But, yeah.
Yeah, because, well, and to be honest, I do struggle with, like my mom was saying this the other day, real true talk, like, about my boyfriend. Like, he's an actor too, and we're both actually in healthcare as well, which is, like, where'd you find that combo?
I know, right?
I was like, I found the one other person that does both. But yeah, and I love being supportive. Like, the people I love in my life, whether it's a platonic or romantic relationship, like, I love supporting my loved ones. And she was like, well, just make sure you still focus on what you're passionate about. Like, don't get lost in, like, supporting him.
Other people in general.
And I was like, yeah, I acknowledge that, because I was like, I do sometimes get wrapped up in making sure someone else is successful.
Making things happen for them instead of
and then I'm like, oh, wait, yeah, me.
Like, I have to do that too.
Yeah, exactly. So that the beginning of this year being like, oh yeah, me.
How do you make sure you're, like, healthy in all aspects? I know we kind of talked about integrating, you know, habits in the morning and stuff, but as 3s, just any person who's, like, achieving, or honestly anyone can relate to this for the most part.
Yeah.
How do you, like, prioritize yourself? Like, make sure you're taking care of yourself and not just supporting other people, and also not overworking yourself to the point where you're just left out for nothing.
Yeah, I'm still, it's a daily struggle, I'll be honest. And some days I fail. Some days I fail miserably, and I'm like, wow, I did nothing to help myself. Great, good job. But again, I'm a former perfectionist, and I definitely still have those tendencies creep up. So I try to be forgiving and lenient on myself on those days. But I have, like, my checklist of things that I'm really on top of, and it's like that 80-20 concept of like, if I do 80% today of that, great. So it'll be my devotional and like carry God throughout the day of like prayer, you know, and just like when I'm having a hard time, like don't forget he's there, and don't be like, I need to control this, I need to like let go, let God kind of thing. And then, you know, eating wise, eat 80% well, just try to make good choices. If you mess up, you know, just try to make a better choice the next meal. Don't just go, oh, well, the day is ruined, because I had like pretty, you know, backwards eating when I was younger. And then, you know, as far as exercise, I'm like, even if you just do 20 minutes, do something. So it's like I have this mindset, and this works a lot better for me, of like, okay, when it comes to like diet, exercise, spiritual health, mental health, do something, even if it's small, every single day, because when you check those boxes, you just feel better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's really, the 80-20 rule is such a good thing to bring up, because it is really easy to just do all or nothing. Be like, well, I missed it anyways, or, you know, I'm eating this and I just want to continue. Literally, I realized that recently. I'm like, I feel so sluggish and tired, and I've been so on the go, and I'm like, I'm not eating well, and it's affecting me like mentally so bad. Yeah. And I'm like, I like preach all the time. I don't know why I immediately like think like, oh, maybe, you know, but it's like, it's easy when you get off with whatever it is, whether it's, you know, getting movement or taking care of your mental health or whatever. If you get off once, just kind of like throwing it, it's like the don't throw the baby out with the bathwater kind of thing, like as far as that as well. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about your OLAY partnership. Yeah. So how did that come about?
You know, I love OLAY so much. I remember seeing it like on my, like, I mentioned my grandmommy. I love my grandmommy so much. But like I remember seeing it like on her counter, and it's such a tried and true staple of skincare. Like they've always been really good about like their ingredients and everything, and they've had such a reimagining in the past few years of just encouraging women to be their best selves. I mean, even with like they have this new moisturizer. It's this like collagen like peptide 24, and it like brings out the collagen in your skin.
Wow.
So it's like,
I love collagen. Anything collagen.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Especially in LA.
Yeah.
But that's the thing I love about them, is like not only with their products, but also with like their advertising. They don't do retouching.
That's cool.
They promote like women in STEM. Like they're all about making you the best version of you. And that's something that I haven't seen in a lot of beauty brands, and it's something that I really believe in strongly. I believe in promoting strong women, and I believe in smart women, because I think a lot of times, you know, people are celebrated that look a certain way and they don't contribute anything else, and it's like, that's fine, but it's like you have so much to offer the world, you know. And I think, you know, there was some study a few years ago where they interviewed young girls, I believe, I'm going to paraphrase this terribly, but like they interviewed young girls, and they said they would rather be an assistant to a celebrity than a doctor.
Wow.
And I was like, that is so upsetting. That's so upsetting, you know? And so it's like working with companies like OLAY that encourages women to not only embrace the beauty that they have naturally and to bring out their best beauty, but also their best brains on top of it, is just like, it was a no-brainer for me.
That's
like when
really
they approached
cool.
me, I was like, yes, absolutely.
That's incredible. What would be your number one tip, like confidence-wise, for young girls?
Oh, that's such a good question. Because, I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say, like, I've had my ups and downs with confidence. And again, it's a daily thing.
Especially being on Disney Channel throughout your teen years at any point.
Dude, you want to know, this is something that's happened recently that I am like on TikTok. So there's been this, like, new trend of, like, oh, this is how messed up it used to be when I was a kid. I thought these people were fat. And I've been showing up on them. And I'm like... like,
yeah.
And I'm like, and I did get that stuff at the time where it was like on Twitter and stuff where it was like, you're fat, go kill yourself. But like, because, and also too, in hindsight, I was diabetic and didn't know it. You know what I mean? And so it's so like
horrible.
But so
you should comment.
No, I mean, because the thing is like, it's best to just leave it alone.
Be,
you know what I mean? And it's a good barometer for me about how far I've come with my self-esteem and my self-worth, because I can look at it and just be like, man, yeah, what a messed up world, huh? And my health is so much more important than that. And like, yeah, the way I look is important because determines, unfortunately, what jobs I get as an actor. So I have to keep that together. But as far as like my best tip for confidence, I think to me it has to be shifting what you find worthy. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I've got stretch marks. Yeah, I've been a bunch of different sizes. I've been a 2, an 8, you know, and everywhere in between. But I don't think about how high my ass is and go, oh, that just determines my worth. You know what I mean? I think about how I make other people feel. I think about, do I leave a room better than I found it at the end of the day? You know what I mean? That to me is what determines my worth.
I love that.
You know? And that gives me a lot of confidence.
I absolutely love that. You're also very grounded and like you're very normal to talk to. And I feel like a lot of people, it's not always the case, you know? So how have you managed to just stay normal
My
and like
parents.
Grounded? Okay.
My parents. I mean, my dad, yeah. I mean, my mom, like, I learned makeup from like sets. Like, my mom doesn't wear makeup. She's never dyed her hair. You know what I mean? Like, I've taught her how to do any makeup she knows how to do. You know what I mean? Like, she's just that, again, she taught me. I come from a long line of strong women, and she taught me, again, what is valuable. And so she never put emphasis on celebrity or this town or, you know, this business, or she could give a crap whether she wanted me to be successful because it made me happy. She could care less whether I was on a red carpet or not, you know? And my dad grew up on a farm, you know, and is going to retire on that farm. And that's where I go home to visit. You know, I don't wear makeup. I put on camo and ride 4-wheelers when I go back home. You know what I mean?
I love that. Yeah.
Like, it's all about balance. And I think it's also recognizing the artifice of all this, right? Like, I love the art of acting, but I recognize that the business it's all cellophane, right? Like, it's all an image. It's all, you know, like, it's all made up. And that's the beauty of it. We're playing pretend, we're telling a story, but sometimes it goes too far. And so I think it's just always kind of keeping that in mind, that it's like, it's a business. It's not real.
Yeah. I think the fact that you've also like kind of switched what confidence means and having like what you value too can help a lot, because you see that's not always everyone's value. Like, I think it's probably more common for people to find their value or their worth in their appearance or like level of fame or like following or whatever that might be or translate to, or even like successes in their jobs. And I think what you said about, you know, how do I make people feel? Do I leave the room better? Is such a beautiful way to live, and also a really healthy way to live. I think that's how you can live with like any sort of peace at all, you know, rather than like a running stream of anxiety of like trying to prove yourself to everyone.
Because you're going to disappoint somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're going to not be somebody's cup of tea.
100%.
You know what I mean? And I love the whole like, I listen to myself and I always sound like an old lady, like stitching like sayings on pillows. But it's like, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but you're going to be somebody's cup of whiskey. You know what I mean? Like, I love that phrase because it's so true. And it's like, you're not going to please everybody. And also, too, to be perfectly honest, like, I fell into the trap of, like, worrying about what people think and being impressed by the business and getting caught up in all that right after Wizards. Like, once it ended, you asked about, like, the transition from going from the show, you know, afterwards. And so, I had some of those growing pains were transitioning out of, like, finding what was important. And honestly, being diagnosed with diabetes, having those challenges in life, and then becoming a nurse and seeing people from all different walks of life, you know, and wiping the ass of people from all different walks of life, it grounds you, it humbles you, you know what I mean? And seeing how fleeting life is.
Yeah.
It changes your perspective on things. And so all of those challenges and hardships and just seeing how fast life can change, and then it changes things.
You becoming a nurse, I think, is so cool for so many reasons outside of obviously like serving other people. But what I think is the coolest thing to me personally is like evolving. I always say like, don't hold anything too tightly. And I think, or like live life with an open hand. So it's like, you never know where you're going to end up, what you're going to end up wanting to do. things that I'm doing now I didn't even want 2 years ago. It was the opposite of what I wanted, and things just change. So as someone who has like evolved and added so many different things to your career, like how have you managed to kind of live like that and just be open to change and evolving? Because I feel like it's really easy to get set on something you want and like have tunnel vision and miss out on so many other things in life that maybe would actually like fulfill you more.
That's such a great question. This is why like I loved like listening to you. Like I was telling you, I was listening to some episodes of your show because like you do ask just like honest questions.
Thank
like
you.
You know, it's great because like you know how some of these can be like so artificial. Yeah. So it's really refreshing.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You know, for parts of it I didn't really have a choice. Like being diagnosed with diabetes, like that's an adjustment. Like I didn't have a choice. Mm-hmm. I could either fight it for the rest of my life, which some diabetics do. I see patients all the time who are constantly like getting their fifth toe removed, you know, because they just refuse to cooperate and like they don't have their vision, and you know what I mean? And like they just are like going to ignore it until they can't. And I was like, well, I can either embrace it and have it make me prioritize my health, or I can ignore it and let it ruin my health. So that was something I couldn't ignore. And then, you know, as far as like adjusting to change with like nursing and applying that with acting, it comes from, to be honest, it comes from faith. Like my mom raised me as a Christian, and I like it's just having that faith of like, I don't know why you're taking me this direction, but I have to trust it. I have to trust it. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know how I'm going to do all of it. But I got to figure it out, you know? And to be honest, like it's like, I've loved acting for so long. And then later in life, I was lucky enough to find another passion for nursing, and nursing has made me a better actor, which is something that there's so many parallels I never expected.
That's really cool, actually.
Yeah. I was like, they're so different. There's going to be no crossover, but it's all about empathy.
Yeah.
Both of them are about empathy.
That's such a good point. What you said about faith is something that I think this is actually my pastor said this to me recently, or someone, I don't know. I can never remember who told me things, and I like say it on record. Well, they're like, I didn't say that. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Well, like you asking me what devotional I did. Yeah. Oh, Joyce Meyers. That's what it was.
Okay, I almost said was it Joyce Meyer just because that's a safe bet. But
it is. My mom got it for me, so yeah. But
yes. Oh, you know what? I actually know what it was. It was Ed Milet's podcast with Erin McManus. That's what it was. But
yeah. Do you go to Mosaic?
I don't, but I went to Zoe when I was here. I went to their college.
Okay,
so it's like a similar one.
Yeah, I went to Mosaic for a bit. I go off and on. That's like the thing that I need to get better about doing.
Yeah, I love Erwin. That's probably like my favorite person to listen to in general, because he's really creative, and I don't necessarily identify as like a Southern Christian conservative. That's not like my vibe, you know?
Oh, I don't identify as like a Southern Christian.
No, but
that's extra.
But you know what I mean as far as like, not even identify, but I don't have as much in common with them. I think maybe it might be the thing.
You know how I refer to it? Because I have a lot of, I feel like Christianity has such a like negative connotation, right? Of like waving negative like signs and things like that. And like I have a lot of friends that are, you know, LGBTQ and all that kind of stuff, and friends from all different walks of life that are Buddhist and atheist, and you know, it's such a personal relationship. And to me, I always like describe it as like I'm a faith, hope, and love Christian. Like that's how I approach everybody. As 100%. Far as like the hell and damnation, like that ain't. I got enough stuff on my plate to deal with. I can't like I can't pull the log out of my eye and deal with like this splinter from yours kind of thing. You know what I mean? So like that's how I always describe it to people. Yeah, like, that's how I'm gonna approach you.
I'm like very open, all over the place, but. They were talking about how Erwin, who, if you guys don't know, he's a pastor at Mosaic in LA. He also is a designer. He's also, pretty sure he's like a producer. He's an author. He does a bunch of different things. He's like really, he's a Renaissance man, basically.
He knows much more about time management.
I'm like, need to have him on. But he, something he said was, because Ed was asking him, like, as a pastor, he has like a high-end clothing line and whatever. It's another person. I really respect people who are multifaceted. I think that's why I was so drawn to you, because I think it's so cool that you do different things that you wouldn't really like put together necessarily. Like I wouldn't be like an actor and a nurse, you know?
It's kind of like a roll the dice kind of
yeah,
thing.
100%.
Okay.
Yes, and that's what I love so much about Erwin, but he was saying it's so interesting, like how oftentimes it's people like with faith or whatever that is who project, like, that's what bothers me, is I feel like people project things onto me all the time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother me enough to like actually be like to actually like seriously bother me, but it is like slightly annoying.
Yeah.
Compared to like, I can get as much hate on the internet, that doesn't bother me, but like when people say that, I'm like, literally leave me alone. But he was like, it's so interesting that people like try to put you in a box, because the whole point of like Jesus or God or whatever is that like God broke the box.
Yeah.
And so when you were talking about, it's like having faith of like, oh, where are you leading me, whatever. And that's in life. I feel like anyone can relate to that. It's like, no, you have to think really big. And a quality that's probably my favorite quality in people are big thinkers. I really don't like small thinkers, especially small-minded people. But I mean, like, that's a really obvious one. But small thinkers who just, like, that's just how it is, typically are, like, it's like kind of out of insecurity. They have something bad to say about everyone else. It's comfortable. And I think big thinkers who really think outside the box and have different ideas or aren't afraid to evolve, I think that's such an attractive quality, and also makes for, like, a really interesting person, you know? So I think it's really cool. I think what you're doing is awesome.
Thank you. I was talking the other day with somebody about how just as like human beings, like our base instinct is like to be comfortable.
Yes.
Right? It's like our brainstem like wants us, speaking of like cognitive function, but like our brainstem is programmed to like be safe, be comfortable, preserve, right? Homeostasis, back to that all the time. And that's, I think, whenever I think about like small thinkers, I always think about like, it's comfortable. I'm going to stay, it's easy, it's comfortable, I'm just going to stay there. And I think when you really want to accomplish something in life and you want to think big, you have to get uncomfortable, and you have to stay in that kind of middle period where you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where this is going to lead. And that middle period's uncomfortable.
It's so I'm 23 and I graduated college 2020, and all of my friends have, and a lot of people moved back to Dallas when they graduated, or we grew up north of Dallas, but everyone like moved into the city, that's where the jobs were. Yeah. So I'm with a lot of people that I grew up with, all of them being post-grad. My experience as post-grad, it's almost fake. Like I've been working and doing this for years. My college experience was totally different. I don't have the same, I don't want to like equate my, like, I don't know what I'm doing to theirs, because it is very different. But it's weird, I think now being like out of college, where I think that being in school full time was like kind of a safety net, and I was working full time, but it was also, I think just in general, like the uncertainties of your 20s is like the number one thing we talk about. And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm going to want to do. And learning how to not put that pressure on myself to even know, because I'm like, okay, a few years ago, I had no idea, especially working in digital, things change all the time. Yeah. So it's like, I really actually can't know. But it's really difficult, and I think that's where like you have to have some sort of confidence or faith or whatever you lean on. And I'm like, I have literally no idea what I'm doing, but to other people it seems but to other people it's like you look at them and you think they have it all put together, and then I talk to them and they're like, I am losing my mind, I don't know what I'm doing.
Some people just have a really good poker face.
Yeah, exactly. Or they're not like crying on Instagram, which like I totally understand. Like I totally get why. Like
why have you cried on Instagram?
No. But I think the narrative behind like Instagram's a highlight reel. Yeah. I don't necessarily fault anyone for making it a highlight reel, because I think like processing emotion offline like is also a healthy thing to do. Yeah. So I understand that, but it is a weird place of like just being in the unknown, but like being in uncomfortable positions, because that's where you grow and that's how you even figure things out. Yeah. So I think it's great, but go ahead. Sorry.
No. I love, I don't want to just ramble the whole time. I deal with myself all day. It's so fascinating to hear like other 20-somethings experience, because a lot of my experience has been with older people, which is why I talk like a golden girl sometimes. Ever since I was a kid, I always worked with everyone was like a lot older than me, and even now. So it's nice to actually hear your experience of like being in your 20s. And I do think there is a lot of pressure to have it all figured out and have it all together. And especially like life has changed, life has changed a lot since like our parents were in their 20s. And so but I still think there's that expectation of like, okay, when you're like, when I was 22, we had a house, we had kids, it's like, but it's not the world's totally different. You know what I mean?
Different.
It's like, if I have my own place at 22, I'm doing great. You know what I mean? Like, and so, you know, I think there's this whole thing too. A lot of my friends have had this like impending thing about 30. Like 30 is this big like milestone of like, I've got to have it all together. And what am I doing with my life? I don't have it together at all. And it's like, but I think, you know, it's tough because I think the world's so different that I think almost in a certain way, you know, the 30s are kind of the new 20s because that period of getting your life together that used to be in your 20s has now kind of been pushed to your 30s.
I hear from people in their 30s all the time that it's the best thing ever. And everyone tells me that I'll love being 30 because they're like, so much of the annoying aspects of being 20 really do just go away. So I'm like, they're like, you're more confident. Things don't bother you. You kind of have like your footing a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm not wishing my life away.
No, of course not.
But it sounds fun.
Although my cynical side, people did say that about my 20s. So my cynical side is like, nah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe you. I'm like, I'm just going to hope for the best and we'll see what happens. But thank you so much for coming on. This has been such a good show. Where can they find you?
Well, on Instagram, I'm just Jennifer Stone. And then I think, oh God, I'm so bad at this stuff. I really am. What is my freaking TikTok? I have no idea. I think Twitter is just Jennifer Stone too. Do people still use Twitter?
Yeah, I actually recently am back on Twitter. You know what's making a comeback?
Jennifer L. Stone is my TikTok. Okay. Because Jennifer Stone is a very common name and it was taken.
They took it from you?
They took it from me.
Oh my God. You know what's coming back though? Snapchat.
Is it?
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
I never really got on it.
I have been on it the past 2 weeks because my friends from home use it.
Yeah.
So it's my thing that I use for them and it's not like a public profile.
Okay.
But yeah, no, apparently it's coming back. So, and you know what?
Well, you remember who was it that tried it? There was like Ashton Kutcher or something tried to bring like MySpace back.
Oh, did he
it,
really?
Like,
That's such an Ashton Kutcher thing to do. Like that sounds.
It was like years ago where he's like, I'm going to bring MySpace back. And it was like, no.
It didn't work out. Well, we'll see. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Even having to like go and find another job, like that job helping Alicia ended up being my full-time job all through school, which was great because I could make my own schedule and we just worked around my class schedule.
It was nice for me because I know you understand the first year of doing this full time, you're so excited to have so much freedom with your schedule.